He thought he had everything money could buy until he stepped onto a private plane and came face to face with the 19-year-old pilot who shared his last name and his face. For 15 years, Maya Bennett raised their son alone, telling him his father was dead, while building a life from the broken pieces Ethan Cole left behind. Now fate has thrown them together in a storm of secrets, lies, and a love that never truly died, forcing them to confront the choices that tore their family apart before it even began. What happens when a millionaire discovers the son he never knew and the woman he never stopped loving? Will pride and 15 years of silence destroy their second chance, or can 3 broken hearts find healing in the skies they all love? Subscribe and share your thoughts below if you believe some mistakes deserve a second chance, because this family's journey through forgiveness is about to take flight. Ethan Cole stared out the window of his private jet. The New York skyline faded behind thick clouds as the plane climbed higher. After 3 days of back-to-back meetings, his head pounded. All he wanted was silence and a glass of expensive scotch. "Sir, would you like your usual drink?" Harold, his assistant, appeared at his side. Ethan nodded without looking up. "Thanks, Harold. After this deal, I need it." Harold poured the amber liquid into a crystal glass. "Congratulations on closing the Morgan acquisition. That makes 3 companies this year." "4, Ethan corrected, taking the glass. "Don't forget Wilson Tech in February." "Of course," Harold smiled, but his eyes held concern. "Perhaps now would be a good time for that vacation we discussed." Ethan waved the suggestion away. At 38, vacations seemed pointless. What would he do? Sit on a beach and think about more work? No, better to stay busy. Keep moving. Keep the memories at bay. "We're headed to the North Carolina property," Ethan said. "That's close enough to a vacation." The plane tilted slightly, and the seatbelt sign dinged off. Ethan unbuckled and stretched his legs. The cabin felt too small suddenly, despite being twice the size of commercial first class. A young voice crackled over the speakers. "Good evening, Mr. Cole. This is Jordan Cole, your pilot today. We've reached our cruising altitude of 30,000 feet. Weather looks clear all the way to North Carolina. Flight time approximately 1 hour and 40 minutes. Ethan froze mid-sip. "Cole?" The same last name was odd enough, but something in the young man's voice tugged at him. Probably just a coincidence. "Your pilot seems confident," Harold remarked. "Too confident," Ethan muttered. "He sounds like a kid." Harold checked his tablet. According to the flight details, he's 19, youngest pilot in the charter company. Quite accomplished for his age. 19, a child. Ethan drained his glass and stood up. "I'm going to see our boy Wonder for myself." "Sir, I don't think that's—" "Just a quick hello, Harold. Make sure our lives are in good hands." Ethan walked to the cockpit door and knocked twice. A voice called for him to enter. Inside, the glow of instruments cast blue-green light across the pilot's face. The co-pilot's seat was empty. "Solo today?" Ethan asked, leaning against the doorframe. The pilot turned briefly, flashing a smile. "Yes, sir, it's a small aircraft and I'm fully certified." Ethan's heart skipped. The boy's profile, that strong jawline, the shape of his nose, stirred something deep in his memory. When Jordan fully faced him, Ethan saw his eyes. Not the color, which was a warm brown unlike Ethan's blue, but the shape, the intensity. "Everything okay, Mr. Cole?" Jordan asked. "Fine," Ethan said quickly. "Just checking in. Cole, right? Any relation?" He tried to make it sound like a joke. Jordan laughed, turning back to the controls. "Not unless you've got family in Southport." "Funny coincidence, though. My mom says Cole is a strong name, means people of victory or something." Ethan gripped the door handle tighter. "Your mother sounds wise." "She's the best," Jordan said, his voice full of pride. "Taught me to fly, actually. Maya Bennett. She runs the flight school where we're landing, best pilot on the coast. Maya Bennett." The name hit Ethan like a physical blow. His hand trembled against the door. "Your mother is Maya?" The question came out hoarse. "Yes, sir." "You know her?" Before Ethan could answer, the plane shuddered. Jordan's hands moved quickly over the controls. "Just some turbulence," he explained calmly. "Nothing to worry about. But you should return to your seat, Mr. Cole." Ethan stumbled back to his seat as the plane dipped and bucked. He barely noticed Harold's concerned face or the drink that sloshed onto his expensive pants. Maya Bennett, after 15 years, and this boy, this pilot with his jawline and eyes. The cabin door opened and a woman stepped through. Tall, confident, wearing a navy uniform with gold stripes on the shoulders. Her dark skin glowed under the cabin lights, her black hair pulled back in a neat bun. A few strands had escaped, framing her face just as Ethan remembered. "Just checking that everything's secure back here," she said, her eyes scanning the cabin before landing on Ethan. She froze. The clipboard in her hand dropped to her side. "Maya," Ethan whispered. Her eyes widened, then narrowed. In that moment, she looked exactly as she had 15 years ago, except for new lines at the corners of her eyes. Lines he hadn't been there to see form. "Please return to your seat and fasten your seatbelt, sir," she said, her voice professionally flat. "We're experiencing some turbulence." Then she was gone, back through the door to the cockpit. Ethan sat motionless, his mind spinning faster than the jet engines. "Maya. Here. And that boy, 19 years old, the math wasn't hard." "Sir?" Harold touched his arm. "You look like you've seen a ghost." "I have," Ethan whispered. "And I think I might be one too." The rest of the flight passed in a blur. When they finally landed at the small coastal airfield, Ethan watched through the window as Maya stepped out of the cockpit first. She spoke briefly to Jordan, then walked briskly away from the plane. "Harold, take the luggage to the house. I'll meet you there." Before his assistant could protest, Ethan was down the stairs and across the tarmac. The evening air was heavy with salt and humidity, so different from New York's concrete coldness. "Maya!" he called. She kept walking, her back stiff. Ethan jogged to catch up, grabbing her arm when he reached her. She spun around, yanking free. "Don't touch me," she hissed, glancing around to make sure no one heard. "What are you doing here?" "Ethan? I didn't know," he said, the words tumbling out. "I had no idea you'd be here. I'm just passing through to my property down the coast." Her laugh was bitter. "Of course you have property here. Is there anywhere your money hasn't touched?" "Maya, please. I need to ask." "He's your son," she said flatly. "If that's what you're wondering." The confirmation hit him harder than he expected. A son. He had a son, 19 years old, a pilot. "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice cracking. Maya's eyes flashed. "Tell you? You were engaged to Catherine Williams 2 months after you left me. The merger of the century, right? Coal Industries and Williams International." She spat the words like they tasted bad. "You made your choice, Ethan. I made mine." "I didn't know about him," Ethan insisted. "I would have—" "You would have what?" Maya cut him off. "Sent money. Visited on holidays, or would you have tried to take him from me? The great Ethan Cole couldn't have a black woman raising his heir, could he?" The accusation stung. "That's not fair, Maya." What we had is gone," she said firmly. "And I need to go. Jordan is waiting." She started to walk away, then turned back. "Stay away from him, Ethan. He thinks his father died before he was born. That's better than the truth, that his father chose money over love." Ethan watched her walk to a blue pickup truck where Jordan waited. The boy, his son, smiled at his mother, helping her into the passenger seat before walking around to the driver's side. They drove away, leaving Ethan alone on the airfield. That night, in the sprawling beach house he rarely visited, Ethan couldn't sleep. He paced the deck overlooking the ocean, phone pressed to his ear. "Harold, I need you to change our plans. We're staying here longer than expected." "How long, sir?" Harold asked, sounding unsurprised. "Indefinite," Ethan replied. "And I need you to find me a place closer to Southport. A rental. Something nice but not flashy." "May I ask why?" Ethan watched the moonlight dance on the dark water. "I just found out I have a son, Harold." The silence on the other end lasted several seconds. "I see," Harold finally said. "And does the mother know you're staying?" "She doesn't want me here," Ethan admitted, "but I have to try." 2 days later, Ethan was settled in a modest villa on the outskirts of Southport. He told himself he was just exploring the area, checking it out for potential business opportunities. But by mid-morning, he found himself parked across from Bennett Flight Academy. The school operated out of a large hangar with a small office attached. Through his car window, Ethan watched students come and go. Then he saw Jordan walk across the tarmac to a small training plane. The boy moved with confidence, checking the aircraft with practiced hands. Maya appeared from the hangar, clipboard in hand. She said something to Jordan that made him laugh. The sound carried across the airfield, and Ethan's chest tightened. That was his son's laugh, a sound he'd never heard until now. As Jordan climbed into the plane, Maya looked up and spotted Ethan's car. Even from a distance, he could feel her glare. She marched toward him as he stepped out of the car. "What did I tell you?" she demanded. "Stay away." "I just wanted to see him," Ethan said. "I'm not going to approach him or tell him anything." "This isn't a game, Ethan." Maya's voice shook. "That boy is my whole life. I've protected him from hurt for 19 years. I won't let you waltz in and destroy his world." "I'm not trying to destroy anything," Ethan insisted. "I just found out I have a son. Can you understand what that feels like?" "No," Maya said coldly. "I've known I had a son for 19 years. I was there for every milestone." "Where were you?" The question hung between them. In the distance, Jordan's plane taxied down the runway. "I'll go," Ethan said finally. "But Maya, we need to talk. Really talk. About the past. About Jordan." "There's nothing to say," Maya turned away. "Please, just leave us alone." But Ethan couldn't leave. Not now that he knew. The next morning, he found himself at the Lighthouse Diner, a small restaurant overlooking the harbor. He sat at a corner table, sipping coffee and pretending to read financial reports on his tablet. The bell above the door jingled, and Jordan walked in. He wore jeans and a flight school t-shirt, looking like any normal teenager. Except he wasn't normal. He was Ethan's son. Jordan ordered at the counter, then looked around for a seat. The diner was unusually crowded. Their eyes met, and Jordan smiled politely. Before Ethan could think better of it, he waved the boy over. "Plenty of room here," he offered. "Thanks," Jordan set his coffee down. "Hey, you're the passenger from the other day, right?" "Mr. Cole." Ethan nodded. "And you're the pilot who got us through that turbulence." "Impressive skills." Jordan beamed at the compliment. "Thanks. Been flying since I was 15. Well, officially since I was 17, but Mom let me handle the controls earlier." "Your mother sounds remarkable," Ethan said carefully. "She is." Jordan stirred his coffee. "Raised me by herself. Runs the flight school, teaches, flies charters." His eyes shone with pride. "She's amazing. And your father?" The question slipped out before Ethan could stop it. Jordan's smile dimmed. "Died before I was born." "Car accident." The lie twisted in Ethan's gut. A car accident. Easier than the truth. That Ethan had left Maya for a business merger that fell apart anyway. That he'd been too proud to go back. "I'm sorry," Ethan said, meaning it in ways Jordan couldn't understand. "It's okay." Jordan shrugged. "Can't miss what you never had, right? Besides, Mom was enough." Ethan's coffee tasted bitter suddenly. "What are your plans?" "Career-wise?" Jordan lit up again. "Commercial aviation. I'm saving for advanced certifications. Maybe even my own charter business someday." "Big dreams," Ethan nodded approvingly. "I respect that. What about you?" Jordan asked. "Mom said you're some big-shot businessman." Ethan nearly choked on his coffee. "She mentioned me?" "Just that you're some CEO type who chartered our plane," Jordan said. She seemed kind of stressed about it. "Business can be stressful," Ethan said carefully. "I run a technology company. Started from nothing, built it up." "Cool," Jordan nodded. "Must be nice being your own boss." "It has its moments," Ethan admitted. "But sometimes I wonder what I gave up along the way." They talked for nearly an hour. Jordan told stories about growing up in the small coastal town, his early flying lessons, his friends. Ethan shared sanitized versions of his business experiences, careful not to reveal too much about himself. He was so engrossed in the conversation that he didn't notice Maya until she was standing at their table, her face a mask of barely controlled fury. "Jordan," she said, her voice tight, "I've been looking for you. We have the Thompson charter in 30 minutes. Jordan checked his watch. "Sorry, Mom." Lost track of time talking to Mr. Cole. Maya's eyes met Ethan's and he saw the betrayal there. "Get the pre-flight started. He'll be there in a minute." As Jordan hurried out, Maya leaned close to Ethan. Outside now, the parking lot was hot under the midday sun. Maya paced in front of him, hands clenched. "What do you think you're doing?" she demanded. "I told you to stay away." It was a coincidence, Ethan tried to explain. He needed a place to sit. Don't lie to me, Maya hissed. You sought him out. You're trying to worm your way into his life. He's my son too, Maya. No, she jabbed a finger at his chest. You don't get to claim him now. Not after 19 years. I didn't know about him. Ethan's voice rose despite himself. How many times do I have to say it? If you had known what? Maya's eyes brimmed with unshed tears. Would you have stayed? Chosen us over your precious company? Don't rewrite history, Ethan. You made it very clear what mattered to you. The truth of her words hit him like physical blows. He had chosen ambition over love, had convinced himself it was for the best. That Maya deserved someone who could put her first. I made mistakes, he admitted quietly, but I'm here now. Because fate threw us together, Maya said bitterly. Not because you came looking for us. Not because you cared enough to wonder if that summer meant anything to me. Ethan reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Maya, please. I just want a chance to know him. To make things right. There is no making this right, she said, turning to leave. Stay away from my son, Ethan. I won't ask again. She stormed off toward her truck, leaving Ethan standing alone in the parking lot. But as he watched her drive away, he knew he couldn't walk away. Not again. Not from his son. Not from the woman he had never truly forgotten. For the first time in 15 years, Ethan Cole was going to fight for something other than money. And he wasn't going to lose. The next morning, Ethan sat in his rental villa staring at his laptop. Numbers and charts filled the screen, but his mind was elsewhere. The coffee beside him had gone cold hours ago. A text from Harold lit up his phone. Board meeting in 3 days. Will you attend virtually or should I reschedule? Ethan's thumb hovered over the screen. For 15 years, nothing had been more important than those meetings. Now they seemed small compared to the son he'd just discovered. Reschedule, he typed. Personal matter. Harold's response came seconds later. Everything okay? No, Ethan thought. Nothing was okay. He had a 19-year-old son who thought he was dead. He had hurt the only woman he'd ever truly loved, and he had no idea how to fix any of it. Working on it, he replied instead. Ethan drove to the airfield again, but this time he parked openly by the main office. If Maya was going to ask him to leave, she could do it to his face. He wasn't skulking around anymore. The hangar doors were wide open. Inside, Jordan stood on a small ladder, working on something under the wing of a red and white Cessna. Tools were scattered around him, and his face was focused in concentration. Ethan hesitated at the entrance. Maya was nowhere to be seen. Maybe he should come back later, but before he could turn away, Jordan spotted him. Mr. Cole. Jordan waved. Come check this out. Ethan walked over, hands in his pockets. What are you working on? Fuel line issue, Jordan explained, pointing to the exposed engine parts. Nothing major, but it needs to be fixed before the afternoon flight. Need a hand? Ethan offered, surprising himself. Jordan looked at him curiously. You know about plane engines? Not specifically, Ethan admitted. But I built my first car engine when I was 16. Can't be that different. Jordan grinned and handed him a wrench. Hold this steady while I tighten this connection. They worked together for almost an hour. Ethan followed Jordan's instructions, asking questions and learning about the engine's parts. It felt good to work with his hands again, to create rather than just negotiate and acquire. You're a natural, Jordan said, wiping grease from his hands with a rag. Most people don't pick this stuff up so fast. Pride swelled in Ethan's chest. Must be in the blood, he said without thinking. Jordan laughed. Yeah, maybe we're related somehow. Same last name and all, if only you knew, Ethan thought. But he just smiled and handed back the tools. So what brings you to the hangar today? Jordan asked. Another flight? Before Ethan could answer, Maya's voice cut through the hangar. Jordan, your physics test. Jordan smacked his forehead. Shoot, I forgot. He turned to Ethan. Online college classes. Gotta go take this test before the deadline. Go, Ethan said. Good luck. As Jordan rushed past his mother, Maya fixed her eyes on Ethan. She didn't look happy, but she wasn't storming over either. Progress, maybe. Ethan walked slowly toward her, stopping a respectful distance away. I just came to talk, he said. Jordan invited me to help with the plane. Maya crossed her arms. I saw. He's smart, Ethan said softly. Talented. You've done an amazing job with him. Something in her expression softened just for a moment. I did what I had to do. I know, Ethan nodded. And I wasn't there to help. But I'm here now, Maya. I want to be part of his life. It's not that simple, she sighed. He thinks his father is dead. How do I explain that I lied to him his whole life? We'll figure it out, Ethan said. Together, Maya shook her head. There is no together, Ethan. That ended 15 years ago. I'm not asking for that, he said, though part of him wished he could. I just want a chance to know my son. Maya was quiet for a long moment, studying his face. You can come to the hangar, she finally said. But we do this my way. No revealing who you are. Until I figure out how to tell him. Deal, Ethan said quickly. And no getting his hopes up about anything else, Maya continued. No promises about funding his dreams or buying him things. I just want to spend time with him, Ethan assured her. Maya's eyes narrowed. Why now, Ethan? You have your empire, your perfect life. Why mess with ours? The question hit him hard because he hadn't fully answered it for himself yet. Maybe because my life isn't as perfect as it looks, he admitted. Maybe I'm tired of success that doesn't mean anything. Something flickered across Maya's face, understanding maybe or recognition of the man she once knew. Then it was gone, replaced by cautious neutrality. I have a charter flight, she said. Lock up if you leave before we get back. After she left, Ethan walked around the hangar, taking in the life Maya had built. Pictures on the office wall showed Jordan growing up, his first solo flight, holding trophies, graduation. A whole life Ethan had missed. One photo caught his eye, Jordan as a baby cradled in Maya's arms. She looked exhausted but radiant, her smile full of love as she gazed at their son. Ethan touched the frame gently, his throat tight with regret. Later that afternoon, Jordan returned, surprised to find Ethan still there. You waited around? He asked, dropping his backpack on a chair. I had some calls to make. Ethan shrugged. How was the test? Crushed it, Jordan grinned. Physics is easy when you understand flight dynamics. They spent the next 2 hours talking about aviation, college, and Jordan's dreams. The boy wanted to build his own charter service someday, maybe even design specialized aircraft. You should talk to my mom about it, Jordan said. She's been saving for years to expand the flight school. Your mother is quite impressive, Ethan said honestly. Jordan's expression grew serious. She sacrificed everything for me. Worked 2 jobs when I was little so we could get by. Put her own dreams on hold. Guilt gnawed at Ethan. Maya had shouldered everything alone while he'd built his fortune. Oblivious. She must have loved you very much, Ethan said. Still does, Jordan smiled. We're a team, Mom and me. Always have been. When Maya returned from her flight, she found them sitting together, looking at aviation magazines. She seemed surprised, but didn't object when Jordan invited Ethan to join them for dinner that weekend. Nothing fancy, Jordan explained. Just burgers at our place. Mom makes the best. Maya's eyes met Ethan's over Jordan's head. If Mr. Cole isn't too busy, she said carefully. I'll be there, Ethan promised. The days passed quickly. Ethan spent most of his time at the hangar, helping with repairs, watching Jordan fly, and getting to know the young man who was his son. He was careful to keep his distance from Maya, respecting her boundaries even as he longed to bridge the gap between them. By Saturday evening, Ethan found himself standing on the porch of a modest 2-story house near the beach, a bottle of wine in one hand and a box of pastries in the other. He'd debated what to bring, wanting to seem thoughtful but not flashy. Harold had advised the wine, not too expensive, but nice. And Ethan had added the pastries from a local bakery Jordan had mentioned. Maya opened the door wearing jeans and a simple blue blouse, her hair loose around her shoulders. For a moment, Ethan couldn't speak. She looked so much like the woman he'd fallen in love with years ago. You came, she said, taking the wine. Jordan's out back starting the grill. The house was small but warm, filled with photographs and mementos. It felt like a home in ways Ethan's mansions never had. Nice place, he said, following her to the kitchen. It's not much, Maya shrugged, but it's ours. It's perfect, Ethan said, meaning it. Dinner was awkward at first. Maya was quiet, watching as Jordan and Ethan talked about planes and business. But as the evening progressed, the tension eased. Jordan told stories that made them both laugh, and even Maya joined in occasionally. Remember when I tried to fix Mrs. Wilson's car? Jordan asked his mother. Maya groaned. You were 10. You took apart the entire engine because you thought you could make it more efficient. Did it work? Ethan asked, smiling at Jordan. Not even a little, Jordan admitted. Cost Mom a fortune to get it repaired. But Mrs. Wilson never got mad, Maya added, her expression softening. She said Jordan was just too smart for his own good. As Jordan told more childhood stories, Ethan felt the weight of all he'd missed. First steps, first words, first day of school. A decade and a half of moments he could never get back. After dinner, Jordan excused himself to study for an upcoming exam. Maya started clearing dishes, and Ethan joined her at the sink. You don't have to help, she said. I want to, he replied, taking a plate from her hands. Their fingers brushed, and Maya pulled away quickly. They washed dishes in silence for a few minutes. He's an amazing kid, Ethan finally said. Yes, he is, Maya agreed. I wish... Ethan began, then stopped himself. What? Maya asked, looking at him directly for the first time that night. I wish I'd been there, he said honestly. For both of you. Maya's hand stilled in the soapy water. That was your choice, Ethan. I know, he admitted. And it was the wrong one. Before she could respond, Jordan bounded back into the kitchen. Mom, I forgot to tell you. Professor Garcia approved my research project. If it goes well, I could get that scholarship. Maya's face lit up. That's wonderful, honey. What's the project? Ethan asked, genuinely interested. Environmental impact of different aviation fuels, Jordan explained excitedly. I'm comparing efficiency and emissions. If I can demonstrate significant differences, it could influence industry standards. Sounds impressive, Ethan said. If you need any resources... Maya shot him a warning look and he stopped. Thanks, but I've got it covered, Jordan said. Gotta earn that scholarship on my own merits, you know? Prove I deserve it. Pride swelled in Ethan's chest. His son had integrity and work ethic, things money couldn't buy. Later, as Ethan prepared to leave, Jordan asked him to come to the airfield again on Monday. We're testing a new navigation system. Could use an extra pair of hands. I'll be there, Ethan promised. At the door, Maya walked him out while Jordan cleaned up the kitchen. Thank you, Ethan said quietly. For dinner. For letting me be here. Maya nodded, her expression unreadable in the porch light. He likes you, she said. I haven't seen him connect with anyone like this in a long time. Maya, Ethan's voice dropped lower. We need to tell him the truth soon. She wrapped her arms around herself, suddenly looking vulnerable. I know, I just need a little more time. Take all the time you need, Ethan said gently. I'm not going anywhere. The next morning dawned grey and stormy. Weather alerts pinged on Ethan's phone. Heavy rain, high winds, possible thunderstorms. He texted Jordan, assuming all flights would be grounded. Jordan's reply was immediate. Still testing the navigation system. Indoor work today. Come if you want. Ethan drove through sheets of rain to reach the airfield. The hangar doors were closed against the weather, but lights glowed inside. He parked and made a dash through the downpour. Inside, Jordan was sitting at a computer terminal, Maya beside him. They both looked up when Ethan entered, dripping wet. You came. Jordan sounded surprised. Didn't think anyone would brave this weather? Said I would, Ethan shrugged, wiping rain from his face. Maya handed him a towel without comment, but her eyes held something, approval. Maybe. The morning passed quickly as they worked on the navigation system. Jordan was in his element, explaining technical details with enthusiasm. Around noon, Maya's phone rang. Emergency charter, she explained after hanging up. Medical supplies needed at the island clinic. In this storm? Ethan asked, concerned. It's rough, she admitted, but I've flown worse. The clinic needs these supplies. I'll go with you, Jordan offered. Maya shook her head. Too dangerous. I'll take the twin engine. It handles better in crosswinds. Mom, I can co-pilot, Jordan insisted. No, Maya was firm. Stay here with Ethan, finish the system tests. As she prepared for the flight, Ethan followed her to the office. Are you sure about this? The weather's getting worse. I'll be fine, Maya said, checking weather reports on her computer. The storm's moving north. If I leave now, I can thread between systems. Let me hire another pilot, Ethan offered. Someone from a larger service. Maya's eyes flashed. I don't need your money or your help, Ethan. I've been doing this for years. I'm just worried, he admitted. Don't be, she said more gently. I know what I'm doing. Ethan watched helplessly as she loaded the medical supplies into the plane. The rain beat against the hangar roof, wind howling around the corners. Be careful, he said as she climbed into the cockpit. Maya paused, looking back at him. For a moment, the years between them seemed to vanish. "I always am," she said. Jordan and Ethan stood in the hangar doorway as Maya's plane taxied down the runway and took off into the gray sky. Soon it was just a tiny speck, then nothing at all. "She'll be okay," Jordan said, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. "Mom's the best pilot around." They returned to the navigation system, but Ethan couldn't focus. He kept checking his phone for weather updates, watching the storm patterns move across the radar. An hour passed, then two. Jordan grew quiet, checking his phone repeatedly. "She should have called by now," he finally said, worry creasing his forehead. Ethan tried to stay calm. "The storm might be interfering with cell service." "Maybe." Jordan didn't sound convinced. He tried calling her again, but the call went straight to voicemail. Another hour dragged by. The storm intensified, rain lashing against the windows. Wind rocked the smaller planes tied down outside. "Something's wrong," Jordan said, pacing the hangar floor. "She always checks in." Before Ethan could respond, Jordan's phone rang. The boy grabbed it, relief washing over his face. "Mom!" But his expression quickly changed to fear. "What? Where are you?" He listened intently, his face paling. "Okay, yes, we're coming." He hung up, already moving toward the door. "Engine trouble." She had to make an emergency landing on Miller's Point. The plane's damaged. "She's okay, but she's stranded in the storm." "We need to call rescue services," Ethan said, pulling out his phone. "Already tried." Jordan was grabbing rain gear from a locker. "They can't get out in this weather. Roads to that area are flooded." "Then how are we supposed to reach her?" Ethan demanded. Jordan pointed to a small helicopter in the corner of the hangar. "That's our only option." "No," Ethan shook his head. "Absolutely not." "It's too dangerous." "She's my mother," Jordan said firmly. "I'm going." Ethan recognized the determination in Jordan's eyes. It was the same stubborn look he'd seen in his own mirror countless times. "Then, I'm coming with you," he said. The helicopter was barely big enough for two. Jordan ran through pre-flight checks with practiced efficiency, despite his obvious worry. "Have you flown in conditions this bad before?" Ethan asked, buckling himself into the co-pilot seat. "Not exactly," Jordan admitted, "but I've trained for it." That wasn't as reassuring as Ethan had hoped, but there was no turning back now. Maya was out there, alone in the storm. The helicopter lifted off shakily, buffeted immediately by strong winds. Rain streaked across the windshield, making visibility poor. Jordan's hands were steady on the controls, his face a mask of concentration. "Miller's Point is about 15 minutes northeast," he explained. "It's a small peninsula that juts out into the bay. Not many landmarks." The flight was the longest 15 minutes of Ethan's life. The helicopter lurched and swayed in the wind. Twice they nearly turned back when turbulence threatened to overwhelm them. But Jordan pressed on, his determination never wavering. Finally, through the rain, they spotted a strip of land and the outline of a small plane. "There," Jordan pointed. "I see her plane." He brought the helicopter down carefully on a flat area near the disabled aircraft. The moment they touched down, both men jumped out, hunching against the driving rain. Maya emerged from under the plane's wing, waving. Relief flooded Ethan's chest at the sight of her. She was soaking wet but appeared unhurt. "Mom." Jordan ran to her, embracing her tightly. "I'm okay," she assured him, hugging back. The engine failed. Couldn't restart it. Her eyes met Ethan's over Jordan's shoulder. "Who came too?" she said, sounding surprised. Of course, Ethan said simply. The return flight was even more harrowing. The extra weight and worsening conditions made the small helicopter struggle. Jordan's face was tight with strain as he fought to keep them stable. "We need to climb higher," he muttered. "Get above this turbulence." As they gained altitude, a sudden downdraft caught them. The helicopter dropped sickeningly, alarms blaring in the cockpit. "Jordan," Maya cried from the back seat. Ethan watched in horror as Jordan fought with the controls. The boy's face was pale but focused, hands moving with precision despite the chaos. In that moment, seeing his son's courage, Ethan felt a fierce pride unlike anything he'd ever known. Somehow Jordan stabilized the aircraft. The alarms quieted, and they continued their bumpy journey back to the airfield. When they finally landed, Maya embraced Jordan tightly. "That was incredible flying," she told him, her voice thick with emotion. "But don't ever do something so dangerous again." "I had to come get you, Mom." Jordan said, sounding suddenly young despite his bravery. "You'd do the same for me." "In a heartbeat," she agreed, kissing his forehead. Then she turned to Ethan. "Thank you for coming with him. For looking out for him." Ethan nodded, unable to speak past the lump in his throat. He had almost lost them both today, the family he'd only just found. Later, after they had dried off and the worst of the storm had passed, the three of them sat in Maya's office drinking hot coffee. Jordan was describing the rescue to someone on the phone, his voice still animated despite his exhaustion. "He was amazing up there," Ethan said quietly to Maya. "You taught him well." Maya smiled, watching her son. "He has natural talent, like his father." The words hung between them, an acknowledgement Ethan hadn't expected. "Maya," he began hesitantly, "today when I thought you both might—" He couldn't finish the sentence. "I know," she said softly. "Me too." Their eyes met, and for the first time since he'd arrived, Ethan saw no anger there. Just understanding and perhaps something more. "We need to tell him," Ethan said. Maya nodded slowly. "Tomorrow. We'll tell him tomorrow." Neither of them noticed Jordan watching them from across the room. His phone call finished, his eyes narrowed in sudden suspicion as he observed the intimate way they leaned toward each other, or the way he slipped quietly into Maya's office, opening the drawer where she kept important documents. That night, in the quiet of her office, Jordan found his birth certificate. His hands trembled as he read the name listed under father, Ethan Michael Cole. Jordan sat on his bed, staring at the birth certificate in his trembling hands. The room around him seemed to blur, everything except those few typed words. Father. Ethan. Michael Cole. His father wasn't dead. His father was Ethan Cole, the wealthy businessman who'd suddenly appeared in their lives. The man who had the same last name, the same jawline, the same way of thinking through problems. The man his mother had been lying about for 19 years. Jordan's stomach twisted. All those times he'd asked about his father. All those made-up stories about a man who died before he was born. His whole life had been built on a lie. He shoved the birth certificate into his pocket and grabbed his keys. The digital clock by his bed read 2:17 a.m. He didn't care. He needed answers now. The roads were still wet from the storm, puddles reflecting his headlights as he drove to Ethan's rental villa. He'd overheard his mother mention the address when she thought he wasn't listening. Jordan pounded on the door, not caring if he woke the neighbors. After a minute, lights flicked on inside. Ethan opened the door, hair tousled from sleep, wearing sweatpants and a t-shirt. "Jordan?" Ethan blinked in confusion. "What's wrong?" "Is it your mom? Were you ever going to tell me?" Jordan demanded, pushing past Ethan into the house. "Or was this all some kind of game to you?" Ethan closed the door, his face shifting from confusion to understanding. Yeah, I know." Jordan pulled the birth certificate from his pocket, throwing it onto the coffee table. "Found this in Mom's office. Funny thing to find out your dead father is actually alive and having dinner at your house." Ethan's shoulders slumped. "We were going to tell you tomorrow." "Sure you were," Jordan laughed bitterly. "After weeks of pretending to be my buddy, getting to know me like I was some kind of science experiment." "It wasn't like that," Ethan said, his voice low. "Please sit down." "Let me explain." "Explain what?" "How you abandoned us. How you let Mom struggle while you got rich. How you both lied to me my entire life." Jordan's voice cracked, betraying the hurt beneath his anger. "I didn't know about you," Ethan said. His eyes pleaded for understanding. "I swear to you, Jordan, I never knew your mother was pregnant when I left." "If I had—" "You'd have what?" Jordan demanded. "Sent money? Visited on holidays? Or would you just have stayed away anyway because your business was more important?" Ethan flinched at the echo of Maya's words. "I made mistakes," he admitted. "Terrible ones. But meeting you, getting to know you, has been the greatest gift of my life." Something in his voice made Jordan hesitate. He sank onto the couch, suddenly exhausted. "Why did you leave her?" Ethan sat across from him, hands clasped between his knees. "I was young, stupid, ambitious. I thought I needed to focus on building my company." He looked up, meeting Jordan's eyes. "Your mother and I met during a summer when I was working on a project near here. She was the most amazing woman I'd ever known. But not amazing enough to stay for," Jordan said flatly. "I convinced myself she deserved better," Ethan said quietly. "Someone who could put her first. I got an opportunity to merge my company with a larger one. the kind of deal that would set me up for life. It meant moving to New York, committing completely to the business. So you chose money over Mom? Yes. Ethan didn't try to deny it. And it was the biggest mistake of my life. The merger eventually fell apart anyway. By then I was too proud to come back, to admit I'd been wrong. Jordan shook his head, trying to process everything. And Mom never told you about me? No. Ethan's voice was gentle. She found out she was pregnant after I left. By then, I was engaged to someone else, part of the business arrangement. Your mother made the choice to raise you on her own rather than complicate things. So she lied to protect me, Jordan said, more to himself than Ethan. She wanted to give you stability. A clear story instead of a complicated truth, Ethan explained. I don't blame her for that. I blame myself for putting her in that position. Jordan stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the sky was beginning to lighten with the first hint of dawn. His whole world had changed overnight. I should have been there, Ethan continued, his voice thick with regret, for both of you. I can't change the past, Jordan, but I want to be in your life now, if you'll let me. Jordan turned back to him, studying the man who was his father. They had the same nose, the same way of standing. How had he not seen it before? I don't know what I want, Jordan said honestly. I need to talk to Mom. Of course, Ethan nodded. Should I come with you? Jordan shook his head. No, this is between me and her right now. When Jordan got home, he found Maya sitting at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes. Her eyes were red from crying. She looked up when he entered, her face etched with worry. You know, she said quietly. Jordan tossed the birth certificate onto the table. Why did you lie to me? All these years? Maya's hands trembled around her coffee mug. I thought it was better than the truth. Better to think my father was dead than to know he just didn't want us. The words came out harsher than Jordan intended. At first, yes, Maya admitted. You were just a baby. How could I explain that your father chose his career over us? As you got older, the lie was already there. Changing it seemed like it would hurt you more. So instead you let me believe a fantasy. Jordan's voice cracked. I used to make up stories about him, Mom. About how brave he was, how much he would have loved me if he'd lived. A tear slipped down Maya's cheek. I'm so sorry, Jordan. I thought I was protecting you. Protecting me, or yourself, Jordan demanded. Were you ever going to tell me the truth? Or did Ethan showing up force your hand? I don't know, Maya whispered, and her honesty hit Jordan harder than any excuse would have. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you deserved to know from the beginning. Jordan sank into the chair opposite her, suddenly drained. Did you love him? Maya looked up, her eyes full of old pain. Yes, more than I wanted to admit to myself. And now? With him back in our lives? I don't know, she said again. That's complicated, Jordan. We're not the same people we were back then. He says he didn't know about me, Jordan said. Is that true? Maya nodded slowly. I never told him. When I found out I was pregnant, he was already engaged to someone else. Starting a new life. I was too proud to chase after him, to look like I was trying to trap him. So you both made choices based on pride, Jordan said, and I grew up without a father because of it. Maya reached for his hand, but Jordan pulled away. I need some time, Mom, to think about all this. He walked out, ignoring her call to wait. The sun was rising now, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. Jordan got in his car and drove to the one place he always felt free, the airfield. The hangar was quiet this early. Jordan unlocked the side door and slipped inside. He flicked on a single light and walked to the small trainer plane he'd been working on yesterday. Running his hand along the smooth metal surface, he let the familiar sensations ground him. His whole life flying had been his escape. Up in the air, nothing mattered except the wind and the sky. No problems, no lies, just freedom. Jordan climbed into the cockpit, not to fly, just to sit in the space that always made sense to him. He closed his eyes, remembering the feeling of his first solo flight. The mixture of terror and exhilaration. The knowledge that he was completely on his own. Like he was now, he didn't hear the hangar door open. Didn't notice Maya and Ethan until they were standing beside the plane, both looking up at him with identical expressions of concern. Go away, Jordan said. Both of you. We need to talk, Maya said gently. As a family. Family. Jordan laughed bitterly. Is that what we are now? After 19 years of lies. We've all made mistakes, Ethan said. All of us. But we're here now trying to make it right. There's no making this right, Jordan snapped. You can't just waltz back into our lives and pretend the past didn't happen. I'm not pretending anything, Ethan said, his voice steady. I know I failed you. Failed your mother. I have to live with that every day. You seem to have done just fine without us, Jordan muttered. No, Ethan shook his head. I built a company. Made money. But I've been empty inside for 15 years. I just didn't know why until I met you. Something in Ethan's voice, the raw honesty of it, made Jordan look at him directly. The man's eyes were red-rimmed, his normally perfect appearance rumpled. He looked like he hadn't slept at all. Please come down, Maya urged. Let's talk this through. After a long moment, Jordan climbed out of the cockpit. The three of them moved to the small office area, sitting awkwardly around the desk that had once belonged to Maya's father. I don't know what to say to either of you, Jordan admitted. I feel like my whole life has been a lie. Not your whole life, Maya insisted. Just one part of it. Everything else, my love for you, our life together, that was all real. Why did you decide to tell me now? Jordan asked. After keeping it secret all these years. Maya and Ethan exchanged a look. It wasn't fair to you, Maya said finally. Keeping you in the dark while Ethan was here getting to know you. And Ethan hesitated. We thought there might be a chance for us to be a real family. Jordan raised an eyebrow. A family? You two can barely be in the same room without fighting. That's not entirely true, Maya said quietly. Things have been changing between us. Great, Jordan stood up, pacing the small office. So I'm supposed to just forget everything and play happy family because you two decided you might still have feelings for each other? No, Ethan's voice was firm. You have every right to be angry, to need time. But I'm asking for a chance, Jordan. A chance to be your father. To make up for lost time. There's no making up for 19 years, Jordan said, but his voice had lost some of its edge. You're right, Ethan nodded. I can't get those years back, but I can be here from now on if you'll let me. Jordan looked back and forth between them, the mother who had raised him alone and the father he'd never known. Two people who had made mistakes, but who clearly cared about him, about each other. I need time, he said finally, to process all this. Take all the time you need, Maya assured him. We're not going anywhere. Ethan nodded agreement. I'm here for as long as it takes. For the next week, an uneasy truce settled over them. Jordan kept his distance, processing his feelings through long flights and quiet evenings alone. Maya gave him space, though he caught her watching him with worried eyes. Ethan came to the hangar daily but never pushed, just offering quiet support when needed. Slowly, almost against his will, Jordan began to see the situation more clearly. The anger didn't disappear, but it softened, making room for understanding. His mother had done her best in an impossible situation. His father, it was still strange to think of Ethan that way, was trying to make amends. One evening, as Jordan was closing up the hangar, Ethan appeared with 2 cups of coffee. Thought you might need this, he said, offering one to Jordan. It's getting cold out here. Jordan accepted the cup, nodding thanks. They stood in companionable silence, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. My mom used to say that red sky at night meant good weather tomorrow, Jordan said, surprising himself by breaking the silence. My father said the same thing. Ethan smiled slightly. Sailor's delight, right? Yeah, Jordan took a sip of his coffee. Did you know your father well? Ethan's smile faded. Not really. He worked all the time. Provided for us, but wasn't around much. I promised myself I'd be different if I ever had kids. He laughed humorlessly. Ironic, isn't it? I ended up being worse. You didn't know about me, Jordan said, the words feeling strange on his tongue. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something close to understanding. No, but I still made the choice to leave your mother, Ethan admitted. To put my ambition first. That's on me. Jordan studied the man beside him, seeing hints of himself in Ethan's profile. What was it like? Building a company from scratch. Ethan seemed surprised by the question. Hard, exciting, lonely. He turned to face Jordan fully. Nothing compared to what your mother did raising you alone. She's pretty amazing, Jordan agreed. She is. Ethan's voice softened. She always was. Jordan took another sip of his coffee, gathering courage. Are you still in love with her? Ethan looked startled, then thoughtful. I think a part of me never stopped loving her, he said slowly, but we've both changed. We'd need to get to know each other again, and you want that. To try again with her. If she'd give me the chance, Ethan nodded. But that's her decision. And yours too, I suppose. You're part of this family. Family. The word hung between them, full of potential. I need to check the weather for tomorrow's flight, Jordan said, changing the subject. There's a storm system moving in. Mind if I join you? Ethan asked carefully. Jordan shrugged but didn't object. Together they walked back to the office, where Jordan pulled up the weather radar on the computer. Looks like it's moving faster than predicted, he frowned, studying the screen. Those are Sirius cells. Ethan leaned in, his expression concerned. Our flight's grounded tomorrow. Should be, Jordan nodded. I'll call Mom. Maya arrived 20 minutes later, hair windblown and face worried. The storm's accelerated, she confirmed after checking the latest reports. We need to secure everything tonight. The three of them worked together to tie down the smaller planes and move what they could into the hangar. The wind was already picking up, carrying the scent of rain. That should do it, Maya said finally, checking the last tie-down. Jordan, we should head home. Actually, Jordan hesitated. I was thinking we could all grab dinner. The three of us. Maya and Ethan exchanged surprised looks. Are you sure? Maya asked cautiously. Yeah, Jordan nodded. I think it's time we talked. Really talked. They ended up at a small diner near the harbor, the only place still open as the storm approached. The restaurant was nearly empty. Most people already home preparing for the bad weather. So, Jordan said after they'd ordered, I have questions about what happened between you two. Maya and Ethan both nodded, looking nervous but determined. How did you meet? Jordan asked. Maya smiled slightly, remembering. Your father was working on a development project near the airfield. He wanted flying lessons. She was the most beautiful pilot I'd ever seen, Ethan added. And she laughed when I said I was afraid of heights. You were a terrible student, Maya shook her head, but her eyes were soft with the memory. But you kept teaching me anyway, Ethan smiled at her. So it was summer romance? Jordan prompted. It was more than that, Maya said quietly. At least I thought it was. It was, Ethan confirmed, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. But I got scared, confused about what I wanted. And what do you want now? Jordan asked directly. Ethan took a deep breath. A chance to be your father. To make things right with your mother. To be the man I should have been 15 years ago. Maya looked down at her hands. It's not that simple, Ethan. We can't just pick up where we left off. I know, he agreed. But we could start over. Build something new. Jordan watched them, seeing the unspoken connection between them despite years of hurt and distance. I'm still angry, he admitted. At both of you. But I also understand better now. Why you made the choices you did. You have every right to be angry. Maya reached across the table for his hand. Take all the time you need. Jordan nodded, squeezing her hand before letting go. One more question. If Ethan hadn't shown up on that flight, if we hadn't run into him by accident, would you ever have told me the truth? Maya's eyes filled with tears. I don't know, she whispered. I'd like to think I would have when you were older. When I thought you could handle it. But honestly, I was afraid. Of what? Of losing you, she admitted. Of you hating me for lying. Of you wanting to find him and being disappointed. I wouldn't have been disappointed, Ethan said softly. Not in Jordan. Their food arrived, momentarily halting the conversation. As they ate, the topic shifted to safer ground. Flying, Jordan's college classes, the storm preparations. It wasn't perfect, but it was a start. Outside, the wind howled around the corners of the diner, rattling the windows. Rain began to fall, first a gentle patter, then a steady drumming against the roof. We should head home, Maya said, glancing worriedly at the darkening sky. This is hitting harder than expected. They paid quickly and hurried to their cars. The rain was coming down in sheets now, making it hard to see. Follow us home, Maya called to Ethan across the parking lot. You can wait out the worst of it there. Ethan nodded, climbing into his rental car. Jordan and Maya got into her truck, wipers barely keeping up with the downpour. Did you mean that? Jordan asked as they pulled onto the main road. Inviting him to the house? Maya kept her eyes on the slick road. Yes, we can't change the past, Jordan, but maybe we can build a better future. They drove in silence for several minutes, the only sound the pounding rain and rumbling thunder. Then Jordan's phone buzzed with a text. It's Captain Owens, he said, reading the message. The tie-downs on the Cessna aren't holding. He's at the airfield trying to secure it, but he needs help. Maya frowned. It's too dangerous to go back out there. If that plane breaks loose, it could cause thousands in damage, Jordan argued. And Captain Owens is out there alone. Maya chewed her lip, torn. Okay, but we go together. Let me call Ethan. She tried to call, but the storm must have affected cell service. Her call wouldn't go through. We'll have to turn around and hope he follows, she decided, carefully executing a three-point turn on the narrow road. But as they headed back toward the airfield, Ethan's headlights disappeared in the distance. He'd kept going toward their house, not realizing they had turned around. At the airfield, the situation was worse than they'd feared. Wind gusted across the open ground, and two of the smaller planes strained against their tie-downs. Captain Owens was struggling with the Cessna, which had already broken one restraint. Jordan, get more tie-downs from the storage locker. Maya shouted over the wind. I'll help the captain. Jordan ran for the hangar, fighting against the driving rain. Inside, he grabbed rope and extra stakes from the locker, then sprinted back out into the storm. The wind nearly knocked him off his feet. Above, lightning split the sky, followed immediately by a deafening crack of thunder. The storm was directly overhead. Maya and Captain Owens were battling to secure the Cessna's wing. As Jordan ran toward them, he saw it happen in slow motion. A powerful gust caught the plane, lifting it slightly. The remaining tie-down snapped under the pressure. Look out! Jordan screamed. The plane lurched sideways, its wing swinging toward Maya. She tried to jump back but slipped on the wet tarmac. The wing caught her shoulder, knocking her to the ground. Mum! Jordan dropped the supplies and ran to her. She was conscious but dazed, blood mixing with rain on her forehead. I'm okay, she insisted, trying to sit up. The Cessna was still loose, rocking dangerously in the wind. Captain Owens was trying to hold it down, but it was too much for one person. Stay here, Jordan ordered. He rushed to help, grabbing the rope he'd dropped. Together, he and Captain Owens fought to secure the plane. The rain made everything slippery, and the wind seemed determined to tear the aircraft away from them. Jordan's muscles screamed with effort as he pulled against the force of the storm. Another flash of lightning, another boom of thunder, this one close enough to make the ground vibrate. In that moment of illumination, Jordan saw a car skid into the parking area. Ethan leaped out, running toward them. Hold on, he shouted. With Ethan's help, they managed to loop new ropes around the plane's landing gear and secure them to the ground anchors. All three men were soaked to the skin, gasping for breath as they finished the last knot. Maya, Ethan panted, looking around. Where's Maya? Jordan pointed to where his mother was now sitting up, holding a hand to her head. Ethan ran to her, kneeling in the rain beside her. Are you okay? He asked, his voice thick with worry. Can you stand? I think so, Maya said weakly. With Ethan's help, she got to her feet, wobbling slightly. We need to get her to a hospital, Ethan told Jordan, supporting Maya's weight against his side. I'm fine, Maya protested. Just a bump. You could have a concussion, Ethan insisted. You're seeing a doctor. For once, Maya didn't argue. She leaned against him as they made their way to Ethan's car, Jordan following close behind. How did you know to come back? Jordan asked as they carefully settled Maya in the passenger seat. I didn't, Ethan admitted. When I realized you weren't behind me anymore, I turned around. Then I saw the lights at the airfield. They drove to the emergency room in tense silence, the storm still raging around them. Maya's eyes kept closing, and Ethan repeatedly called her name, keeping her awake. At the hospital, doctors confirmed what Ethan had feared, a mild concussion, along with a badly bruised shoulder. Nothing life-threatening, but they wanted to keep her overnight for observation. You two should go home, Maya told them from the hospital bed. Get dry. Get some rest. I'm staying, Jordan and Ethan said in unison. Maya looked at them both, her expression softening. My stubborn men, she murmured before drifting off to sleep. Jordan and Ethan sat on opposite sides of her bed, both still in their wet clothes, both watching Maya's peaceful face. Thank you, Jordan said softly, breaking the silence. For coming back. For helping. Ethan looked up, his eyes tired but warm. I'll always come back, he promised. For both of you. Outside, the storm continued to rage, but in the quiet hospital room something had shifted. Not forgiveness exactly, not yet, but a beginning. A family, broken but healing, finding their way back to each other through the storm. Morning sunlight streamed through the hospital window, painting warm stripes across Maya's bed. Jordan had fallen asleep in the chair beside her, his young face relaxed in slumber. On the other side of the bed, Ethan sat awake, watching them both, his family. The thought still felt strange, like a coat that didn't quite fit yet. But looking at Maya's face, peaceful in sleep and at the son he'd never known he had, Ethan felt a fierce protectiveness wash over him. He would do anything for them, give up everything he had built if it meant keeping them safe, keeping them in his life. Maya's eyes fluttered open, finding his immediately. "You stayed," she whispered, careful not to wake Jordan. "Of course," Ethan said softly. "How are you feeling?" "Like I got hit by a plane." She tried to smile but winced instead. "Which I guess I did." Ethan reached for the water cup on the side table, helping her take a sip. Their fingers brushed and neither pulled away. "The doctor says you can probably go home this afternoon," he told her. "As long as someone stays with you for the next 24 hours. Jordan can—" "I will," Ethan interrupted gently. "Jordan has exams to study for. Let me help, Maya, please." She studied his face for a long moment, then nodded slightly. "Okay." That simple acceptance felt monumental. Ethan fought the urge to take her hand, to kiss her forehead, to promise he'd never leave again. Instead, he just nodded back, letting the moment speak for itself. Jordan stirred in his chair, stretching his long limbs before opening his eyes. "Mom, you okay?" "I'm fine, sweetheart," Maya assured him. "Just so." "The plane?" "Secured," Ethan answered. "Captain Owens called this morning. Everything's still standing at the airfield, though there's some minor water damage to the office." Jordan nodded, rubbing sleep from his eyes. "When can we take you home?" "This afternoon, hopefully," Maya said. "But you need to get to your physics exam." "I can skip it," Jordan protested. "Professor Garcia will understand." "Absolutely not." Maya's voice was firm despite her weakness. "You've worked too hard. Tython's going to stay with me." Jordan looked between them, surprise and something like hope flickering across his face. "You sure?" Maya's eyes met Ethan's again. "Yes," she said softly. "I'm sure." Later that afternoon, Ethan helped Maya into his car, while Jordan followed in his own vehicle. The drive to Maya's house was quiet, the aftermath of the storm evident in fallen branches and puddles on the road. At the house, Ethan supported Maya up the porch steps, her body warm against his side. Inside, he helped her to the couch while Jordan grabbed pillows and blankets. "I can get my own place ready," Maya insisted. "I'm not helpless. Humor us," Ethan said gently. "Just for today." Jordan disappeared into the kitchen, returning with tea and sandwiches. "I made lunch," he announced, setting the tray on the coffee table. "And I'll make dinner before I leave for the exam." "I can handle dinner," Ethan assured him. "You focus on studying." Jordan nodded but hesitated before heading upstairs. "Mom, Ethan? Are we going to be okay? The three of us?" Maya reached for his hand. "I hope so, sweetheart." "We're trying." "I'd like that," Jordan admitted quietly. "Having both of you." After he went upstairs, Ethan sat in the armchair across from Maya, watching as she sipped her tea. The afternoon light caught the silver strands in her dark hair, making them shimmer. "Thank you," she said suddenly, "for coming back to the airfield last night, for staying at the hospital, for being here now." "You don't need to thank me," Ethan shook his head. "This is where I should have been all along." Maya set down her cup. "Ethan, we can't keep living in the past. What happened, happened. We all made choices, good and bad. I know," he sighed. "But sometimes I look at Jordan and think about all I missed. His first steps, first words, teaching him to ride a bike. You're here now," Maya pointed out. "That's what matters to him. And to you," Ethan asked, his voice low. "Does it matter to you that I'm here?" Maya looked away, her fingers tracing the edge of the blanket. "I spent 15 years trying to forget you," she admitted, "trying to convince myself I was better off without you. That Jordan was better off. Were you?" Her eyes met his, honest and clear. "Sometimes. We built a good life, Jordan and I, but there was always something missing." Ethan leaned forward. "Maya, I know I have no right to ask this, but if there's any chance at all that we could try again—" "I don't know," she whispered. "So much has happened. We're different people now." "Then let me get to know who you are now," he suggested. "And you can get to know me. No pressure, no promises, just possibility." A small smile curved her lips. "Possibility," she repeated. "I like that word." From upstairs came the sound of Jordan's footsteps and the muffled beat of music from his room. Maya's smile widened. "He always plays music when he studies. Says it helps him focus. What kind of music? Ethan asked, eager to learn these small, precious details about his son. Classical, mostly. Sometimes jazz, Maya shook her head fondly. He's an old soul, like his mother, Ethan said softly. Their eyes met across the room, and for a moment the years between them seemed to melt away. Then Maya winced, shifting her position on the couch. You should rest, Ethan stood. Doctor's orders. I've been resting all day, Maya protested. Then rest some more, Ethan insisted. I'll check on dinner. In the kitchen, Ethan found himself standing still, taking in the space where Maya and Jordan had built their life together. Photos on the refrigerator tracked Jordan's growth from toddler to teenager. A height chart on the wall by the doorway was marked with dates and measurements. Cookbooks lined a small shelf, spines cracked from use. Every detail spoke of the home they'd created, the life they'd shared, without him. The thought brought a fresh wave of regret, but also determination. He couldn't change the past, but he could be part of their future. Ethan opened the refrigerator, finding ingredients for a simple pasta dish. As he cooked, he heard Jordan come downstairs. Smells good, Jordan said, hovering in the doorway. Need help? Sure. Ethan motioned him over. You can make the salad. They worked side by side, the silence between them not entirely comfortable, but not tense either. Progress. You cook, Jordan observed. Slicing tomatoes. I live alone, Ethan shrugged. Had to learn. Though I usually have meetings over dinner, so it's mostly just breakfast I make for myself. Sounds lonely, Jordan said, not looking up from his task. Ethan paused, wooden spoon in hand. It is, he admitted. I never realized how lonely until I met you and your mom. Until I saw what I'd been missing. Jordan set down his knife, finally meeting Ethan's gaze. Are you really staying this time? Or is this just, I don't know, guilt? Curiosity? I'm staying, Ethan said firmly. If you and your mom will have me in your lives, there's nowhere else I want to be. Jordan studied him, looking for any sign of dishonesty. Then he nodded once. Good, because if you hurt her again, I won't, Ethan promised. I've made enough mistakes for one lifetime. They finished cooking together, then brought the food to the living room. Maya insisted on sitting up at the table, though both men tried to convince her to stay on the couch. I'm not an invalid, she declared, moving slowly to the small dining table. And we're going to have a proper family dinner. The word family hung in the air, making all three of them pause. Then Jordan smiled, just a little. Family dinner it is. They ate together, the conversation easier than it had been at the diner. Jordan talked about his physics exam, his plans for advanced flight certification, his dream of expanding the flight school someday. I want to add a mechanical engineering program, he explained excitedly. Teach pilots to understand their aircraft from the inside out. That's a great idea, Ethan said, genuinely impressed. Have you worked out the costs? Jordan's enthusiasm dimmed slightly. It's expensive. We'd need more space, equipment, instructors. We'll figure it out, Maya assured him. Maybe start small. Build up gradually. I could help, Ethan offered cautiously, aware of Maya's earlier warning about making promises. Not just financially. I know people in the industry, engineers who might be interested in teaching. Rather than shutting him down, Maya looked thoughtful. That could be useful. Jordan glanced at his watch. I should go. Exam starts in 40 minutes. Good luck, Maya squeezed his hand. You'll do great. Knock 'em dead, Ethan added, feeling awkward but sincere. Jordan gathered his books and keys. At the door he paused, looking back at them. Thanks, both of you. For dinner, for... He gestured vaguely. Everything. After he left, silence settled over the house. Ethan cleared the dishes despite Maya's protests, then returned to find her struggling to stand. Let me help. He moved quickly to her side, offering his arm. I hate feeling weak, she muttered, but leaned on him anyway. You're the strongest person I've ever known, Ethan said truthfully. One day of accepting help doesn't change that. She looked up at him, their faces suddenly close. For a moment, Ethan thought she might lean in, might close that small distance between them. His heart raced at the possibility. Instead, she stepped back carefully. I should rest upstairs for a bit. Of course, he nodded, masking his disappointment. Let me help you up the stairs. The journey to the second floor was slow, Maya wincing with each step despite her attempts to hide it. At her bedroom door, she turned to him. Thank you, Ethan. I'll be downstairs if you need anything, he told her. Just call. Alone downstairs, Ethan wandered through the living room, looking at photos on the walls. Jordan as a baby cradled in Maya's arms. Jordan's first day of school, grinning with missing front teeth. Jordan in a baseball uniform, Maya beside him with an arm around his shoulders. A whole life captured in pictures. A life he should have shared. One photo made him stop. It was older than the others, the colors slightly faded. Maya stood on a beach much younger, laughing at the camera. Ethan recognized the location. It was the day he'd taken her to a secluded cove near Southport, their third date. He'd never seen this picture before. That was a good day. Ethan turned to find Maya standing on the stairs watching him. "You should be resting," he said. "Couldn't sleep," she shrugged, then winced at the movement. "Too much on my mind." Ethan moved to help her back to the couch, but she shook her head. "I'm tired of lying down. Just sit with me." They sat side by side on the couch, not touching but close. "I remember that day," Ethan nodded toward the photo. "You found those sea glass pieces and said they were like little treasures from the ocean." Maya smiled at the memory. "You said they were like relationships, smoothed by time and more beautiful for having weathered the rough seas. Poetic for a tech guy." Ethan laughed softly. "You were different then," Maya said quietly. "Less guarded, more open to possibilities." "I want to be that man again," Ethan admitted. "The one who saw wonder in sea glass and believed in possibilities." Maya was silent for a moment, her eyes on the photo. "Why did you keep this?" Ethan asked finally. "After everything?" "I tried to throw it away," she confessed. "Many times. But I couldn't. It was the only picture I had of us from that summer. The only proof that what we had was real. It was real," Ethan's voice dropped lower. "The most real thing in my life." Maya turned to look at him directly. "And now? Is this real, Ethan? Or is it just guilt and regret?" "It's real," he promised. "More real than anything I've felt in 15 years. Slowly, carefully, Maya reached out and took his hand. Her fingers were warm against his, the touch simple but profound. "I'm not saying yes," she cautioned, "to whatever this is between us. I'm not saying no either. I'm just saying, maybe, someday. Maybe is enough." Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "Maybe is hope." Outside, the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. They sat together in comfortable silence, hands linked, watching the light fade. When Jordan returned from his exam, he found them that way, sitting close, talking softly, Maya's head occasionally dipping toward Ethan's shoulder when she laughed. They both looked up at his entrance. "How'd it go?" Maya asked. "Good, I think." Jordan dropped his backpack by the door. "Professor Garcia said she'd have the results by Friday." He studied them for a moment, noticing their linked hands, the ease between them. "So you two are talking," Maya said simply. "Figuring things out," Jordan nodded slowly. "Good, that's good." The three of them spent the evening watching an old movie Maya loved, making casual conversation during the slow parts. It wasn't perfect. There were still moments of awkwardness, of uncertainty, but it felt like progress. When the movie ended, Jordan yawned and stretched. "I'm beat. Good night, you two. Mom, yell if you need anything." After he went upstairs, Ethan reluctantly stood to leave. "I should go." "Let you rest." Maya caught his hand. "The doctor said I shouldn't be alone tonight." "Concussion protocol." "Jordan's here," Ethan reminded her. "He has class early tomorrow," she countered. "And you promised to stay." Ethan hesitated. "Where would I sleep?" "The couch pulls out," Maya said. "If you want to stay." "I want to," he assured her quickly. "If you're sure," Maya nodded. "I'm sure." The next few days fell into a strange but pleasant routine. Ethan slept on the pull-out couch, made breakfast each morning, and drove Maya to the doctor for follow-up appointments. Jordan went to classes and worked at the airfield, slowly allowing Ethan to help with repairs and maintenance. By the end of the week, Maya's head was much better, though her shoulder still bothered her. The three of them returned to the airfield together, surveying the damage from the storm. "Not as bad as I feared," Maya said, walking through the hangar. "We can have things back to normal by next week." "Sooner with help," Ethan suggested. "I can call in a crew to fix the roof leaks." To his surprise, Maya didn't immediately reject the offer. "That would help," she admitted. "We have a charter scheduled for Monday." "Consider it done." Ethan pulled out his phone to make the call. As they walked through the hangar, Jordan pointed to the small red and white plane they'd been working on before the storm. "I think she's ready for a test flight," he said proudly. "Already?" Maya looked impressed. "Ethan helped me finish the fuel line yesterday," Jordan explained. "We checked everything twice." The casual way Jordan used Ethan's name, the easy acknowledgement of their teamwork, it meant more to Ethan than he could express. "Maybe we could take her up this afternoon," Jordan suggested. "All three of us?" Maya looked hesitant. "I don't know if I should fly yet with my shoulder." "You don't have to fly," Jordan said. "Just come along. I'll pilot. Ethan can co-pilot." "Me?" Ethan blinked in surprise. "I haven't flown in 15 years. Like riding a bike," Jordan grinned. "Besides, I'll be right there if you mess up." The confidence in his son's voice, the trust implicit in the offer, Ethan felt a lump form in his throat. "I'd be honored," he managed. Later that afternoon, with the hangar cleaned up and repairs underway, they prepared for the test flight. Jordan ran through pre-flight checks with professional efficiency, while Maya watched proudly. "He's really good," Ethan said quietly, standing beside her. "The best," she agreed. "Gets it from both of us, I think." Ethan looked at her in surprise. It was the first time she'd acknowledged any positive connection between him and Jordan, any shared trait or legacy. "Ready," Jordan called from the cockpit. "All aboard! Who's coming aboard?" The plane was small, a four-seater with just enough room for the three of them and their gear. Jordan took the pilot's seat, Ethan beside him as co-pilot. Maya sat directly behind Jordan, leaning forward to watch them both. "Remember your checklists," she reminded Jordan. Her voice pure flight instructor now. "Yes, ma'am," Jordan said seriously, though his eyes twinkled. Throttle, mixture, fuel pump. The engine sputtered to life, its steady rumble vibrating through the small aircraft. Jordan taxied carefully to the runway, his hands confident on the controls. "Tower. This is Cessna 172 November 634 Bravo, requesting clearance for takeoff," he spoke into the radio. "November 634 Bravo. You are cleared for takeoff," came the response. "Winds light and variable, visibility unlimited." "Perfect conditions," Maya noted from the back seat. Jordan guided the plane down the runway, building speed until the wheels lifted smoothly from the ground. The sensation of flying again after so many years made Ethan's stomach flip, but in a good way. Like the first drop on a roller coaster, they climbed steadily, the airfield shrinking below them. Jordan handled the controls with easy competence, making small adjustments for wind and altitude. "Want to try?" he asked Ethan, nodding toward the co-pilot controls. "Are you sure?" Ethan glanced back at Maya, who nodded encouragingly. "Just straight and level for now," Jordan instructed. "Light touch on the yoke." Ethan placed his hands on the controls, feeling the vibration of the aircraft, the subtle pull against his palms. Memories flooded back. Maya teaching him in a plane just like this one, her voice patient, her smile rewarding each small success. "You're a natural," Jordan commented, echoing what Ethan had said to him days before. "Must be in the blood." The simple acknowledgement, said openly without anger or bitterness, felt like a gift. Ethan's vision blurred slightly with unexpected emotion. "You're doing great," Maya said softly from behind him, her hand briefly touching his shoulder. They flew along the coastline, the afternoon sun turning the ocean to gold. Pillow boats dotted the water, and beaches stretched in ribbons of white sand. "It's beautiful," Ethan breathed. "This is why I fly," Jordan said. "This feeling of freedom, like nothing can touch you up here." "I remember," Ethan nodded. "Your mother tried to teach me that. I was too focused on the mechanics, the instruments. I missed the joy of it." "You were always in a hurry," Maya recalled. "Always looking ahead to the next thing instead of experiencing the moment." "I've learned my lesson," Ethan assured them both. "Some things are worth slowing down for." They flew for nearly an hour, Jordan pointing out landmarks, Ethan taking occasional turns at the controls. It felt like the most natural thing in the world, the three of them together, suspended between earth and sky. As they turned back toward the airfield, the sun began to set, painting the clouds in brilliant oranges and pinks. "Red sky at night," Jordan quoted. "Sailor's delight," Ethan finished with him, sharing a smile. Maya leaned forward between them. "It's a good sign," she said softly. "A good beginning." When they landed, the sky was deepening to purple, the first stars appearing overhead. They secured the plane in comfortable silence, moving around each other with newfound ease. Successful test flight, Jordan declared, patting the plane's nose affectionately. She performed beautifully. Yes, she did, Maya agreed, but her eyes were on Ethan. Later, as they locked up the hangar for the night, Jordan surprised them both by saying, I want to learn more about you, Ethan, about your life. If we're going to do this family thing, I should know where I come from. Ethan's heart swelled. I'd like that. Very much. Maybe dinner tomorrow? Jordan suggested. You could tell me about your company, your family, my grandparents? They'd love to meet you, Ethan said, emotion making his voice rough. When you're ready, Jordan nodded thoughtfully. Not yet, but someday. Soon, maybe. It was more than Ethan had dared hope for. They walked to the parking lot together, the night air cool and fresh after the storm. At their cars, Jordan hesitated, then did something unexpected. He hugged Ethan briefly, awkwardly, before stepping back. Night. Dad, he said, testing the word carefully. Ethan stood frozen, overwhelmed by the simple title he'd never expected to hear. Good night. Son, he managed, his voice thick with emotion. Jordan smiled, then got into his car and drove away, leaving Ethan and Maya standing together in the dim light of the parking lot. That was a big step for him, Maya said quietly. For me too, Ethan admitted. I never dreamed he'd accept me so quickly. He's got a good heart, Maya said. Like his father. Ethan turned to her, hope rising in his chest. Maya, she shook her head gently. Not yet, Ethan. We're still finding our way back to each other. But we are finding our way? He asked, needing to hear her say it. Maya smiled, stepping closer. Yes, she said softly. I think we are. In the gentle glow of the airfield lights, she reached up and touched his face, her fingers warm against his cheek. Then slowly she rose on tiptoe and pressed her lips to his, a kiss as light as a whisper, but filled with promise. When she pulled back, Ethan saw everything in her eyes, lingering hurt, yes, but also forgiveness, hope, and the beginnings of love renewed. Come on, she said, taking his hand. Let's go home. Together they walked to Maya's truck, hands linked between them. Above, stars filled the night sky, countless points of light guiding them forward, toward home, toward family, toward the future they would build together. As Maya started the engine, Ethan looked back at the airfield one last time. This place had changed his life twice now, once when he'd left it behind and again when fate had brought him back. This time he wouldn't make the same mistake. This time he was staying for good. What are you thinking? Maya asked, noticing his thoughtful expression. That some journeys are circles, Ethan said, reaching for her hand again. They bring you right back where you're supposed to be. Maya smiled, squeezing his fingers. Welcome home, Ethan Cole. And as they drove away beneath the starlit sky, Ethan knew he had finally found what all his wealth and success had never given him. A place to belong, a family to love, and a future filled with possibilities as endless as the horizon. The end.